Eric Chesser, welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What's going on now? You're in Utah?
Yep, Salt Lake City, Utah. We're getting a little bit of a light snowstorm right now. It's cold. So one of those dreary, I don't know if you've heard about Utah and Salt Lake, we have the worst air quality in the nation. That's a fact. You can Google it.
Well, we're surrounded why is that?
The Salt Lake Valley is surrounded by mountains, and for whatever reason, the pollution, the smog, whatever, gets trapped kind of in the valley. And unless we have like a windstorm or a good rainstorm, it will just kind of knock it out and blow it out. So yeah, we're dealing with the inversion here in Salt Lake City right now.
Oh, dude, I've never thought of Salt. I always think of Salt Lake as like any other mountain town, like clear air, clear view to the stars. I mean, obviously, I know there's light pollution, but when you fly into LA, you're flying into like a blanket of black smog. But I guess I've just never thought about it.
That's kind of what it's like here in the winter. Yeah, it's no good.
Huh.
A lot of people get, like me, will get like a seasonal asthma, and it's just a mess. It's bad. I'll get this dry cough through the winter. I haven't got it yet, so knock on wood.
Oh, jeez. Well, next time I'm going to be coming there in a couple months for the expo, and
bring your inhaler.
Check that out when I'm flying in.
It's either here or it's not, because we do have those bluebird days that are perfect. But a day like this, if you were in Park City, which is up Parley's Canyon, it could be bluebird and it could be beautiful. And then as you come down to the valley, it is like what you're saying in LA, like you're just like driving into the smog. So it's kind of one of those days, just gloomy.
You've lived in Utah your whole life?
No, I have lived here since I was 12 years old. I was born in Utah, but my family moved to Fremont, California. It's kind of around the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, California. My dad was an iron worker, and he moved out with some friends of his that owned an iron working company to chase money. And there was a lot of construction work going on there, so they had a lot of jobs lined up. But we moved back when I was 12 years old. That was like in that 6th grade time zone. And I think more than anything, my mom just kind of wanted to be back and closer to family.
What did they do for a living?
My dad was an iron worker. He worked in the union. He was part of the union. Local 27, I think is what it's called. If there's any iron workers that may know what Local 27 is. So he did iron work for quite a while. He was a truck driver before that, but for the most part, he was an iron worker.
So where did you get your entrepreneurial spirit?
That's kind of where I was going with that. I'm like, he would always tell me, son, don't do construction. It's hard on, it's hard on your body, and it's hard work. I mean, my dad worked his butt off, man. Like just like a typical wake up every day, go do the grind, be at the construction site early in the morning and work as late as they need you to, work weekends if they need you to. But he was always a great provider. He definitely took care of the family and provided. And that was his role in the family. And my entrepreneurship, dude, it honestly goes so far back that I don't know what it started with or why. But I was the kid in like middle school selling candy bracelets and candy necklaces. Remember the candy necklaces on like a string that would stretch? I don't know. Our class would. You buy them.
Yeah, they're kind of gross. They're actually not that good to eat. Like they don't taste that good, but a lot of people had them. Right?
They make a pretty good weapon in class. But I was always trying to take something and make it into something bigger. So I'd have my mom buy like a box of these candy necklaces at Costco, and then upsell them at school. I mean I did pumpkins. I always loved to grow pumpkins, and I would take those to the street corner and sell pumpkins. I would always rake leaves. Like basically, if I ever wanted money, I had to earn it. My parents, I didn't just get handouts all the time. I mean, I'm sure just like anybody, hey, Mom, I need $5. Okay. But for the most part, if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So even just going back to childhood, like if I wanted a comic book or if I wanted to go to the baseball card shop, because that stuff was all popular back when I grew up, I'd go around the neighbors' yards and ask if I can rake their leaves. And, mow the lawn or literally do anything just to raise some money so I can go get the things I wanted. And I think what that taught me was, if you want something, just simply work for it. So I carried that into selling, like raising rabbits on the side and selling those on a street corner. Like literally the kid on the corner with like $5 rabbits, like 7 rabbits running around. So I had a pen of rabbits. I've done pumpkins. As it got a little older, it was mowing lawns, starting a lawn company. Mm-hmm. But there was one specific time when I was 16, getting my driver's license and stuff. And I had a job at a local, it's called the General Army Navy store. So it's kind of that Army surplus outdoor retail store. My great aunt owned it, so I had an in, right? I got in when I was like a teenager to work a few hours here and there. But there was one time they wouldn't let me go shed hunting on my birthday. Like I remember this one moment, right? Like I just wanted to look for shed antlers, and they told me I couldn't have my birthday off. And yeah, I just quit and went shed hunting instead.
Isn't it crazy how, and I think it often gets taken for granted, how hard the generations, statistically, how hard the generations prior to us had to work more. There's just a lot more physical labor, and not that there's not physical labor now, but there's definitely more options than there probably was. Like my wife's grandpa, he pulled green chain in a mill, which is like one of the hardest jobs in a lumber mill forever. One of my best friend's dad worked in the mill for so many years. And in those generations, that's just what you did. You physically worked your ass off, but you did it not only to earn a living, but you did it like your dad, which was, I want my kids to have it a little bit better than I had it. Like, and yeah, I can work hard, but I'm hopefully going to pass on enough knowledge and wisdom to you that maybe you can improve on that and maybe not have to break your back. You're still going to have to work hard, but it may not be with, necessarily your hands or breaking your back. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it is different, man. Like my next door neighbors, I don't know them that well, but it's an Asian family. And I was raking my leaves. I really enjoy yard work. Like I'll always mow the lawn, rake the leaves. That's just something I like to do outside, and it's fulfilling because it looks good. But that goes back to my lawn care days. And anyways, I saw them starting to rake their leaves, and they're probably like 60, 65. And I went and talked to them, and I helped them rake their leaves, and that started conversation. And I was like, they asked me that same question you asked me. Have you lived in Utah your whole life? Which led me to ask them where they're from. And they're both from Vietnam. And they both moved here in the 70s. And they said the same exact thing. They're like, I was like, oh, your kids, they're not out here helping. Oh yeah, they don't like it. All they really know is technology. They just know technology and stuff. And the wife was telling me how she had retired, and she put in 37 years with the same company. I mean, that's been on my mind ever since I left that conversation. I was telling my girlfriend, 37 years, of doing the same company, most likely like a very similar role. It's just that grind, right? Like that was the generation before us, more so than now, of just like get the job, go to work, do the job, get in your hours, build up retirement, and retire at 60, 65. Yeah, and it's changed so much, man.
Yeah, and if you have the entrepreneurial fire like you have, we're going to get into sort of where that's taken you, because I think it's really cool. And honestly, it's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I've been following your journey since. So let's back up a little bit. So for the audience, I'm sure you have a billion followers in the hunting industry. But for my audience who kind of spans beyond hunting, can you give a little bit of just a high level of who you are and what you're up to now, so we can dive into more of that?
Yeah. So for those who don't know me, my name is Eric Chesser. I do consider Utah as home, even though, like I said earlier, I'm from California. But yeah, started out with an entrepreneur mindset in my early childhood into school. Then after school, trying to decide what to do for work, like how do you create a decent income? and then do something you love. And I was going to pursue photography back then because I love capturing stuff. So I was the kid in my generation. I'm almost 40 years old. So put me back, like imagine me back into my high school days of like late 90s. I graduated in 2000 and 2001. Not many kids my age were running around with a video camera. And that was something I asked my parents for a Christmas. And they
no, because it would have been like a handy cam back then.
Yeah, it was like, handy cam, running the old high 8 tapes. So I always had this passion for wildlife. I had a passion for capturing, and I had some unreal desire to share. And I don't know why. Like, I would just be so excited to go out to the woods, capture content, and bring it home and plug it into the VHS with the old audio video cables and show as many people as I can get to sit around, which was maybe a friend or two and my mom and dad. You know what I mean? Like anybody who I can get to sit down and show them an elk or show them like me finding shed antlers. And I really love to share. And that was my way of like hoping that I can show people this awesome thing I do, and they could come in and maybe I can make some friends and get some people to get involved and do the things I love, because it wasn't very popular here in the city, like Salt Lake City, to like go hunting and find shed. So that led me to, trying to make a living doing that. So I've done a lot of jobs from like Sportsman's Warehouse, just again, trying to surround myself in that environment of hunting and outdoors. That led me to meeting my friend Jim. Jim Giles offered for me to go film hunts for him. And, the typical like daily rate type of thing. And unfortunately, a lot of the videos we used never got shown to anybody. Like we still joke about that today. But I've always tried to make a living doing what I love. And man, it's been a struggle because there was never these social platforms. Digital content wasn't a thing. But I just never stopped, and I continued to do that. And over the years, I've had different partnerships with other people, ranging from chat forums when they were popular, websites, DVDs, selling content, and which ultimately led me to working with my partners now, Casey and Brian at Hush. So Hush stands for Hunt Fish. We make digital content and upload it to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and a little bit of TikTok. But basically, we've been able to grow the content and build a brand at the same time, which is called Hush. And that's the hunting and fishing lifestyle brand that we have built. And that's where I'm at right now. I have great partners. We get to hunt full time. That's my full-time job, is to capture content. The business is doing really well, and we've kind of ran with that giveaway platform. A lot of people wanted a chance to hunt with us, so we finally did like a giveaway, and you enter by every dollar spent on our website as a chance to come hunt with us. So that's been a big piece of our platform. And then working with strategic partners in the hunting industry, everything from bows to guns to camo, backpacks, optics, etc. And that's where I'm at right now.
So so I graduated in 99, and thinking back in that area, I mean, our elk camp, there was a guy that his name was Blake. He always brought his handy cam, and he filmed somewhere, stashed away somewhere, is like all of my early hunts in VHS tapes, collecting dust somewhere. And you just got me thinking. I just made a note. I gotta try to get a hold of him and get my hands on those before they just get sold at a garage sale or thrown away. But I was thinking about that era. That was like, I guess Primos was pretty hot then in their DVD run, right? Like it was pretty much like Primos, Realtree, and maybe some others, but delivering content to the hunter was very early and still archaic in terms of delivery. It was DVDs and VHS tapes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like I remember like the Double Bull Blinds guys, like Brooks and those guys, they were starting to put out some stuff. But really, the fact that you were, such a young man doing that at the time, it kind of the stars aligned for you. I mean, that was like the very beginning of it all, right?
Yeah, the stars aligned, man, because all all these opportunities that are out for those like yourself, for myself, we love to create content and share. It really was about timing. And I feel for me, it was like a perfect slot where I'd kind of already built somewhat of a little bit of a following through chat forums. People started to catch on who I was even back then. That moved to DVDs. We built a small following then, and then social media doors started opening and these platforms started opening. And I didn't understand how it would work, but I knew right away that if I could build these platforms up, I could somehow, turn it into a business or monetize it in some way, shape, or form. I didn't know how, but I knew it would be important to share content and build a following.
What made you want to capture your hunts? I mean, just hunting. Obviously you love hunting. What made you actually want to capture them and share them? What kind of what did that do for you?
Okay, so we got to back up a little bit and go into the order of all these events, right? So before I ever hunted, I got a camera. So I was used to filming and documenting, anything. Mm-hmm. And really before I ever hunted, like truly hunted and took an animal, I was shed hunting before that because I was that guy who I don't know if I want to kill one, but I really enjoy finding their sheds and like videoing them. Mm-hmm. So I was already capturing shed hunting content and just really documenting, like impersonating what you'd see on these DVDs, right? I was like vlogging back then, talking to the camera, speaking to an audience that didn't exist, like, hey guys, I'm out here chasing elk or picking up antlers.
Right.
So it was already a thing. So I was already documenting and filming stuff. And then I started hunting. And that I started hunting because I really got into the gym and getting fit. And I actually did some old fitness bodybuilding type of competitions. And I didn't want to kill animals, but there I was eating all the meat, like Costco chicken and buying ground beef in bulk. And I was finally like, I should actually, to know if this hunting thing is for me, like I need to go do it myself and, shoot an animal and see if that's something I can be all right with. And I did that. So going back to the original question, why did you start capturing your hunts? Like it was just part of my life. And then hunting came and I added it to it. Mm. So hunting doesn't exist without capturing. And someone asked me this question, it's been a couple years now, but I always reflect on it because someone just asked, Eric, do you ever get sick of filming your hunts? And that made me I had to think about that. I'm like, the first answer is no, but I had to think why. And once I thought about it, I'm like, videoing my hunt, like hunting without capturing it doesn't exist in my world. I've never done that. I've never gone on a hunt and didn't film it. I don't do that. I still to this day have never just gone hunting and not captured it. So it blows my mind. Is that so you can
reflect on it and you going back through? It's just part of your process. It's just part of the experience for you is capturing it.
It's been a part of the process, but reflecting back to those early days and being on chat forums and being a young hunter myself, I consumed content like you wouldn't believe. All the DVDs and VHS you're talking about, I had those. I'd go to the Hunt Expo and try to find anybody who's creating content and buy their VHSs or DVDs. When chat forums got popular, I was very active. I'd read every thread. I'd enjoy every photo, every picture. So for me to capture and share content was one way for me to give back to the hunting community because I kept I took so much, right? Like I'm gaining knowledge. Right. I'm taking people's tips. I'm looking at their photos. Like me making my posts on those early chat forums was my way to give back to the community and entertain and show people what I was up to.
Yeah. Yeah. And this industry is unfortunately known for the haters, right? And because you capture so much of your world and share it with so many people, especially now that your platform has grown pretty big for this industry, you have a very significant following. You take a lot of heat for, you could say anything and you're going to take heat from somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand why you got asked that question because a lot of people's psyche probably couldn't take the fire you take sometimes. Like I was before we got on the show, I was just I was watching some of your videos and reading a bunch of stuff, and somehow I stumbled upon some douchebag on a forum saying, you know, he should have never shot at this coos deer. This coos deer shot, it was too far or something. And then I stumbled on another one that was like, you know, here he goes again. He shot at an elk and there was brush in front of its vitals or something like that. I didn't read too deeply into them, but I have a little bit of PTSD from that just because I've been around this industry for 15 years now, and it's just so ugly, the mud that gets slung. But also you can't let it affect you, obviously, and you obviously don't. You continue plowing forward. But how do you get in that mindset to keep plowing and keep capturing all your hunts, even though you know it doesn't matter what film you drop, what shot you take, what step you take, what arrow you're using, what broadhead you're using, you're going to take heat, right? For some reason, they like giving you shit, Eric.
I'm so like numb to it, and I have been for a very long time. Like that really started ramping up in the chat forum days. I mean, you can post a series of stories or photos and write a little article, and suddenly you're getting heat for it. And you're just like, at first I was so confused, like, where are these people coming at me with all these assumptions? Because most of the time they're assumptions. And I found that you can't even argue people's assumptions most of the time. Like that coos deer or that elk, right? There's an elk, I know which one you're talking about. I think this elk was sick or something because he was just standing there. It was the weirdest thing looking back on him. He's super skinny. And he was right up against some brush, like see-through brush, like not like hiding. And I hit him 3 times in the pump house. The first 2 are this far apart. The third one was just a little higher, which kind of gave him that spine shock and dumped him. But each one of them was a kill shot. But that wouldn't matter to someone who wants to believe something else. Like I could say, hey, man, I got the elk. Like, you know, the brush didn't seem to affect the bullet any chance. You know, he's dropped in his tracks, like perfect shot. It doesn't matter because they've already got their assumptions of why you did it, or, you know, you only did it for the video. It goes on and on. And I'm just numb to it, man.
They're coming in. Because they're not coming from like a genuine place, like they're not genuinely concerned about the elk's well-being or your ethical prowess. It's they're coming in from a place of bitterness and I don't know what you'd call it, but it's negative. It's not like they're not trying to help anybody or anything most of the time. Now, sometimes there are legitimate concerns that are totally fair game, right? Like the other day, I was with who was I with? Oh, I was with Ryan Lampers, and they just released a video of a moose hunt in Alaska. And the guy they were with shot a moose with a rifle, and it was like quartering 2, and you can see the bullet go in high in the shoulder blade and kind of angle down. It killed it. But apparently, they took a bunch of heat for that. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, I understand like a comment like, wow, that seemed like quartering 2 shot on a moose. That seems a little risky, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But 95% of the heat they took wasn't genuine heat. Like there was some comments that you could tell were like, look, I'm not like trying to tell you guys what to do, but I'm just curious why you would take that shot. That's okay. That's like fair game. Like, look, you and I are in the public eye. We can take questions, right? But it's the douchebag hate that seems to just be the most distracting, annoying shit. And fortunately, I don't take a ton of it just because my platform isn't as big as yours. But when I look at someone like you have to, because most people aren't like Joe Rogan, who says he doesn't even read a comment, right? He's like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I've never read that. You know, I don't even read a headline about myself on Fox News. But to you or I, you know, we do read them sometimes. So like how you deal with that, I think it's kind of interesting to share with people. You know, you become numb, but how do you do that? How do you become numb? Do you have to self-talk? Do you have to just kind of ignore it? Can you read them? Do you read all of them? Do you ever respond to them?
I read quite a few because I do like to comment. I think it's important to engage, especially on our YouTube videos. I mean, the stuff that's nonsense, like you're talking about, that's just like hate, attack. We'll take Instagram, for example. I'll get heat on this one subject, whatever it might be, and the hate's coming from people who don't even follow me. Like, they're not following me somehow. Like, you just want to, like, come see and stir up stuff. So I'm like, all right, delete, block. The ones, I've had a few get to me, but they get to me because I care. And there's a lot of people over all the years of me doing all this stuff that, in my opinion, I've tried to help, encourage, be a friend, maybe tag them, try to build their following, just help in some way, right? When those people turn their back on me for, like, what I would say is no good reason, and, those ones, I'm just like, hey, I'll actually reach out. Like, hey, man, I did not expect something negative coming from you after, what I've done or our friendship we've had. And, most of those get turned around to, dude, you're right. And honestly, like, I was having a bad day, it's so funny once they own up to it. But for the most part, it's just out there. So there's this picture that Shed Crazy shared, and I can't remember it exactly. But it's two people riding a donkey in the first frame. It's like a 4-frame. And then there's people back here critiquing them, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe 2 people would ride on that donkey. That's a lot of weight. The next one is one guy's walking the donkey and the other guy's on top. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy is riding the donkey and making his friend walk. Then the next one, it's 2 people and they're just walking along with the donkey on the ground. And the critique is, oh my gosh, what a couple idiots. They don't even know how to utilize the donkey. Right? So it's like, no matter what you do, you're wrong.
Right.
And we can go out and raise money for conservation and help families through Christmas and you name it, do a ton of great stuff and get kids involved into hunting and try to teach people tips and suddenly they don't like my hat. It's like, dude, come on. You're just looking for something. You're just looking for something to pick me apart. But so, yeah, I'm basically numb to it. It's just the internet is a wild place. And, unfortunately, sometimes the negative stuff is louder. But, dude, I've just got the positive stuff coming my way in DMs and messages and comments is by far outweighs the negative. And I just try to focus on those.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was listening to the other day, but maybe it was a Rogan podcast with one. I can't remember what. Maybe it might have been Neil deGrasse Tyson. Doesn't matter. They were talking about statistics and how the human brain really can't fathom statistics. So when it comes to things like this, it makes sense because if we get 99% love, but we're like absolutely focused on the 1% hate, probably less than 1%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard for us to be like, wait a second, I've got 99.8% love and, 0.02% hate. We can't wrap our heads around that. We just get so distracted by these squirrels, these one-offs. But I get it, man, especially what you mentioned about like in any industry, and my musician friends will tell me that Nashville in the music industry is like 10x what I've experienced in our industry. Yeah. But it's the same, which is, which is, you think you have a friend, and then all of a sudden they just, stab you right in the back and just twist it around. Those ones do hurt. That's more than just hate, though. That's deeper. That's like betrayal. You're not being betrayed by some random internet troll. Yeah, exactly. Saying you shouldn't have shot that elk. It's like whatever, man. But when a buddy of yours like stabs you in the back, that's different. That hits way different. So that's totally fine to take that personal, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So I remember the first time that I really noticed what you guys were doing. I don't remember the year. You probably do. It was Firebull, right? Mm-hmm. So Jeff Sposito, who now is the CEO of Stone Glacier, and I at the time were working together at Sitka Gear, and I remember I can't remember if he shared a link. Did you release the Firebull video on DVD first, or was it on YouTube?
No, we did YouTube and actually like a in-person movie night, but we launched in the same.
Okay, but it was on YouTube. It was never on okay, DVD. So gotcha. He emailed me a link to it, and he said, because I was the marketing director for Sitka Gear at the time. He's like, dude, this is actually a cool hunting video. We should do something with these guys. And at the time, I was so inundated with emails like that. You know, you control the purse strings at, you know, a company like that. I get 10 of those a day. It's like, oh, sweet. Another person I quote unquote have to do something with. Otherwise we're not going to do good, you know?
Yeah.
But I watched it and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, what a cool story, because it wasn't just another hunting film. It was a story of perseverance. And it didn't hurt that the bull was like, you know, generationally cool. Like, it was bulls like that don't just come around all the time. But tell me a little bit about that story and kind of how it changed your trajectory. Did that set you on a totally different kind of path?
Yeah, so it definitely helped kind of launch. Well, let's go back a little bit. When I actually hunted and captured that hunt, I was working with a group called Time's Up. Same thing, partnership. And like most partnerships, you know, you all have different ideas and want to go different directions. And that partnership fell apart. So I had the video that had never been shared. And at the time, I was really good friends with Casey Butler, who is my partner now in Hush. And I had this Firebull video that I thought was awesome, and I always wanted to share it in a movie theater because we had started doing these movie theater DVD premieres similar to that of like skiing and snowboarding industry. So I hit up Casey because I knew he had an archery elk hunt from Idaho that I helped film for him, and I knew he never shared it. So I knew we had these two cool videos. So once my partnership with Time's Up ended, I was working at a gym. That's kind of another passion of mine is fitness. And I was working there selling gym memberships. And I was upstairs on my break catching a workout. And I texted Casey, hey, do you want to have a movie night with me the night before the hunting expo? And he just wrote back, hell yeah, 5 exclamation marks. Like he didn't even think about it. He's just like, hell yeah. So no one had seen the video until then. But on that same day of the movie night, we launched it on YouTube, which kind of was, really that conversation and that movie night is what eventually led Casey, BMAC, and myself to becoming partners in Hush. So the YouTube channel already existed with almost 70,000 subscribers when we put the video on there. But that video really it skyrocketed to hundreds of thousands of views very quickly, ultimately, getting over 1 million views. And that really got traction and subscribers to the Hush channel and really helped us like take off. And then that logo, the Hush logo, this bull is actually on the shirt. That is what helped our apparel line skyrocket. It went from like hardly any sales to making that a logo, and then sales started going up. So yeah, it's a crazy hunt. It was a hunt here in Utah that took me 11 years to draw out in a limited entry unit. And the bull was alive the year before, and that was known because my friend Jared Woolsey had the same tag and ultimately killed another big bull. But he sent me a photo when he found out I drew. He said, hey, this bull is still alive. And to my knowledge, he made it through all the hunts and even the late hunts. So that was kind of like, I want to find that bull, and we did. We found that bull in the summer, kind of knew where he was living, and kind of had an idea where he would go to pre-rut because Jared had pictures of him in early September without cows, kind of just like a pre-rut staging zone, I call it, like, staging up, rubbing the velvet, and right before they really go chasing. So I knew he'd show up there, and sure enough, he did. He showed up the day before my hunt started, and that's why I committed to sitting there every day I could. Just hours and hours staring at a meadow, Some days seeing some elk, but most days never seeing an elk at all. And yeah, I don't want to go into all the details of the story because that alone is just it's so long. But ultimately, shooting that bull. But like you said, it's really one of those hunts. I was excited to share the hunt, and I was excited to make it somewhat of a mark, a logo, the antler, because it meant something. A lot of logos in the industry are just a generic whitetail antler or a generic 6-point. But this was like, all right, I was really pushing it hard in the beginning. I wanted people to say, hey, this antler is that it's that thing you can wear, you know, a shirt or a hat to remind you that when you're out there that you got to work hard, you got to persevere through hard times, you got to stay strong mentally and just push your limits. And that's really what I push that logo to stand for, like something to keep you motivated out there. And yeah, I'd say that mark and that hunt alone has really elevated myself and the Hush brand together.
Yeah, it's cool because I think it's the symbolism of that hunt is so consistent. It seems like with the rest of your life, which is, you know, this discipline, hard work, perseverance, focus. You know, you and I don't know each other that well. You know, we've met and we're all, you know, we're around each other in certain circles, but what I can see from you is like this very positive image of, you know, of all those things I just mentioned. And I have to imagine that some of that comes from your fitness life. I mean, I'm just guessing, but you're a fitness nut, right? You even have a fitness line of clothing. Outfitted? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Outfitted lineup. That, you know, I always want to do something in these things I love. And, you know, Hush fulfills my desire to film, document, share, hunt, shed hunt. And there's always this other piece of me that just like, you know, mountain ops came into space and they were supplements, and that kind of connected my two passions, right? Hunting and fitness. But I created the Outfitted line, and it's kind of been mellow. I've been quiet on it because I kind of have an idea to maybe rebrand it into something different. But yeah, that was another entrepreneur move of like, hey, I want to provide the hunting community, you know, workout clothes, things that I like and things I think other people would like. But yeah, going back to
what? Go ahead.
Here, one sec. I want to go back to what you said. You said something about like my attitude going back to my fitness life, and it's funny you mentioned that because, like you said, I've never told you that. You've just kind of created that idea, but you couldn't be more correct. Especially on the Firebull hunt, I've told everyone that was not a physical hunt. Like some of these hunts I've gone on are like physically demanding. You're sleeping in the woods. You're going up steep mountains. The Firebull hunt was the least physical hunt I've ever done, but the most mental hunt I've ever done. And that mental strength of feeling confident and knowing I can do it, I can get it done if I'm just patient, that definitely 100% comes from my fitness background and even competing when I put myself through these 3-month-long, you know, show preps where you're doing cardio, you're eating the same thing every day, you're weighing your food. And so when I was able to do that mentally, you really start to feel like so invisible, not invisible, but you build so much confidence. And in 2013, when I shot Firebull, shortly before that is when I won the natural men's physique Utah, you know, the overall or whatever. So that was like, actually, you know, it's funny. So this year was a big year for me, man, 2013. So that's a Firebull. And I don't show many people this because it doesn't go well over with the hunting crowd, but that's my physique picture. But this right here, 2013, that was one of those years where I put my head down and worked for the two things I wanted, and luckily it all worked out.
Do you still stay in your fitness routine?
I know to do what I do and travel as much as I do, I just have peaks and valleys through the year. So I know exactly what my calendar year looks like, and I have to sacrifice one or the other at times. So like, we'll just say January, February, it's like winter. I'm not very active. I'm lifting a lot, but I also have a huge appetite.
The Altitude Show is brought to you by Peaks Equipment, the world's leading technical, hard goods, and accessories brand for backcountry enthusiasts. From trekking poles to headlamps to best-in-class gaiters, Peaks delivers a system of products that work to achieve optimal performance in the harshest conditions. Don't suffer on your hunting adventures. Peaks enables you to thrive on the mountain when everyone else is going home. Visit peaksequipment.com and use code ALTITUDE for 10% off today. That's ALTITUDE for 10% off on peaksequipment.com.
Then I go shed antler hunting for 3 months, and I actually deplete, and I'm like skinny and depleted. And then summertime, I'm home and I get the gym a lot, and I usually try to do like a cut and just lower body fat so I can go into the hunting season in really, really good shape. And then, so I'm in peak shape in like August, September, October, and then November, December starts to slip a little as the days are shorter, you're not as active, and I crave carbs all the time. So yeah, when I'm out of town, I try to work out, but when I'm out of town living on the mountain, there's no working out.
Well, yeah, but you're exercising, hunting, right?
Heck yeah, definitely out burning calories for sure.
Yeah. What's your diet look like when you're in the sort of the peak of the year?
Oh man, I mean, I really am I'm going into the season with all these healthy habits. So I really start out like even choosing super healthy snacks and packing a lot of protein, like wild game jerky, tuna packets, and really focusing on keeping high protein. And like trying to mellow it down on the carbs, like taking almonds, cashews, and stuff like that. And then for carbs, it's usually Ritz crackers with tuna, and then maybe a freeze-dried meal at night, like a Peak Refuel or a Mountain House. But now that I'm home, I eat wild game like all day, every day. And the freezers are full. You know, I get the opportunity to hunt a lot, so there's no shortage of meat here. So elk, deer, whitetail, mule deer, that's all in my daily diet.
What are you doing though for the other stuff other than the on the meat side? Veggies,
right now,
carbs.
Yeah, like I love yams, white rice, and oatmeal are like my favorite carbs. And then veggies, I haven't eaten a lot of them lately, but I like zucchini and yellow squash on the grill. I haven't had a whole lot of veggies lately, to be honest. But I think I got sick of them when I did all these fitness shows. I mean, it was literally tilapia and asparagus every meal, chicken and broccoli, and some of those greens. I don't know. I just don't eat them much anymore.
So you're predominantly eating wild meat
for the most part. Yeah, like I started even investing in the wild meat. Like my last elk was $800 at the butcher because I got like 50 packs of jerky out of it. So I'm like, I buy snack sticks nonstop at the gas station. I get the bags of jerky at the store. I'm like, why? So this last elk was all jerky, and the rest was grind. And then obviously the premium steaks like the back straps. The one before that, I got a big chunk of breakfast sausage done. So again, I'm like, don't need to buy pork, don't need to buy like breakfast sausage or bacon that I like. Now I have elk breakfast sausage, and it's really, really good. And then I did a big batch of Italian sausage. So if I want to cook spaghetti or meatballs or anything like that, like I already have it in elk. So yeah, the only thing I sometimes get a craving for, and I'll go purchase, is salmon.
Yeah. Dude, that's so funny. You and I are very alike, man. Sometimes I'm like, I eat elk, like, I mean, obviously deer too, and antelope when I can, but predominantly our freezer's full of elk. And I mean, I literally eat it. Like my wife will get so annoyed sometimes. She'll be like, can we have something different? Because I'll be like, what's wrong with, I'll even eat a backstrap in the morning. Like, I don't care. Yeah. And then I have a couple pepperoni sticks during the day. And then like today I had a summer sausage sandwich. Then tonight I'll make elk tacos. Like it's all elk, wild game, heavy meat. I mean, obviously I eat veggies and stuff too, but it's pretty heavy meat. And some people would say, you should do that. You should, do this or that. I'm like, whatever, man. I feel great. I'm healthy. And you know what? Like, this is something that I live for. And I love the thought of eating what I kill. And also, I'm with you though, because we live on the coast in Oregon, and fresh salmon and fresh tuna is tough to beat. Like, I love seafood too. It's just, I don't put as much work into going and getting seafood, I guess. But I think what you and I are doing is a great way to live. Like I'd rather not buy beef from the store.
No kidding. I have, the the last couple butchers I've done, they do 1 pound shrink wrapped, vacuum sealed packets. And I just so happened to be walking by the meat section at the grocery store the other day. I'm like, wonder what those are worth in beef. And here in Utah, it was $6.99 for like the pound. And the first thought was, wow, I've been giving out a lot of cash because, and that's another thing I've taken heat for is, how can you kill so many animals? What do you do with the meat? And I'm like,
oh, right. Yeah.
Anyone who comes to my house goes home with a goodie bag of meat. And I mean, it's all paid for. It's all processed. I've had people ask if they can buy some, and I'm like, you can't buy wild game. Like, you just come have some. And I get the opportunity to gift it a lot and help friends and families who can use it and all that. But it is weird to go to the grocery store and see the prices on the meats now. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I did a poll. When I went and saw that burger was $7, I did a poll on my Instagram. I said, how much is a pound of burger where you're at? And I had 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and then 9+. And the majority of it was in that like 6, 7. But there was some people paying $9+ for a pound of beef.
Wow.
I mean, that's a huge dent in the pocketbook if you're feeding yourself and a family.
Yeah.
Just meat.
Yeah. And look, I see Cameron take the same heat. I think all of us that have the opportunity and are blessed to be able to hunt multiple elk, specifically elk, because they're big, right? You could shoot 5 deer a year and no one's going to say a word about it because but you shoot 2 or 3 elk and all of a sudden, save some for the rest of us. Geez, why you got to shoot that many? Yeah. Oh, you're just doing it because your ego. You just need to kill and all these things. And yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I don't just hunt for meat. I love the meat, but that is not the only reason I hunt. And I think anybody that's honest would probably say the same thing. But when the years that I've been lucky enough to kill at least a couple elk, I can tell you that we still end up with 0 because, like you say, people come, you give some to your dad or your brother or your neighbor, or people come over. Like at the end of the year, you're out,
For
so,
sure.
People find places for it. It's not like you're just like stockpiling elk in your garage for years and just letting it go to waste. It's like, no, if you're Cameron or you or whoever else that kills multiple elk a year, you're finding places for it. Yeah, you're probably not eating 5 elk by yourself a year, but it's not going to waste.
No, I've been taking a lot of heat on that topic. I don't know how close you followed me this year, but kind of the story to my season was I have 5 elk tags in 5 different states, and my goal is to fill each tag and really test myself on hunting them in different terrain, different states, different times of the year with different weapons, and then documenting and sharing that experience with people. But that has led to this exact conversation of, I can't believe you'd hunt 5 elk. Like, why would you do that? What are you going to even do with all the meat? And at first it kind of triggers me to want to be defensive, but my reply to those were sausage, jerky, burger, and steaks. Like, what else is there? Am I missing something? But to kind of reflect on that comment, like, I don't blame anybody for being curious. Now, there's a different way to approach it. If you're being a dick and you're just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe you'd go shoot that many. Or if someone's like genuinely like, hey, I'm curious, what do you do with 5 elk? I don't blame them, because before I was in this position, I wondered the same thing with all the big hunters that went with all the guides every year in multiple states. Mm-hmm. So early in my career, I did guide for a while, and I did get to be around some of these high-profile hunts where they're paying $10,000, $15,000 a tag. One thing I learned, and I really appreciated it, and you don't see it, and it's never spoken about, most of these hunts, a lot of these animals, their meat is donated. So in my particular story, a hunter could come in and typically fly in, take an animal, and they would pay for butchering, pay for anything, and just say, donate it, give it to the church. And if you've never done it, you'll never know what it's like to give something like that, to open up someone, knock on someone's door, give someone a bag of meat here, and just see in their eyes how thankful they are there's a lot of older people in these small towns that love deer and venison, but they don't get the chance to hunt. You go gift them some deer steak, you'll see somebody light up. So I don't blame people for asking, and I never have hopped on my social platforms to answer that question. I've actually been wanting to, because I want to address like, hey, I don't blame you guys for asking. I don't feel like it's an attack, but here's some of the things that do happen with some of these animals. A lot of them are gifted or donated, and I've shared some of my stories about donating elk. And sometimes I don't. You don't need to know. You don't need to know that this family is going through a hard time. I don't need to put them on social media and show the transaction. I do these things in the background, and you don't know about it. But people are going to have their assumptions. They're going to believe whatever. They're going to think these things are going to waste. They're getting rotted away or whatever. But I can promise you, dude, all my wild game has got a place to go. And I've been able to gift a lot of it. And that's pretty special when you're in a position to do that.
Yeah, those comments are not coming, again, from a lot of them. Not all of them. It's a legitimate question, but it's just how it's framed. If it's coming from a place of just, save some for the rest of us. You don't need 5 elk. This is the whole reason why elk hunting is going to shit. This is the whole reason we can't get tags. It's because people like this, they're being greedy and da-da-da-da. That's that whole rabbit hole. As opposed to, hey, I'm just curious. Do you have like multiple freezers? Does your family eat that much meat, or do you give it away? There's actual legitimate questions. I get it. But you also get heat. I don't look at the comments on anybody's stuff, sometimes even including mine. But my assumption is, based on what I do see from you, is you take heat, especially this year, because you're shooting nice bulls. And when people shoot big elk, it's just, or mule deer or anything really, it just brings out the worst in people. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but it absolutely is true. When a big elk gets shot in the big elk culture, all the people that are insecure come right out of the woodwork to attack you. Like, you must have poached it. You must have did something illegal. There's no way you could have killed multiple big elk in the same year. You're not even that good of a hunter. All these attacks. Yeah. And then the meat thing is just an excuse for another angle on an attack. It's coming out of a place of bitterness and jealousy, and sometimes well-founded. Most people can't shoot even one big bull, let alone multiple big bulls in 1 year. They're just they don't have the skill level or the opportunity to do it, and it really bugs them.
They don't,
I bet.
I was just going to say, what they don't have is the mental mindset that it's achievable. And that's the sad part. Like, I've killed all my elk are on public land. I don't have to say it in the comments, or I don't feel like I need to mention that, but I have killed all my elk on public land. I haven't had the opportunity to hunt elk on private yet, which I take advantage of the opportunity if I got it. But if someone says, comes out with these things like, he must have been on private, there's no way he did this, it's like they've already counted themselves out from achieving that. And that's like, I feel sad that they have that mindset, that they're going to sit on the couch and think like, oh, going to Colorado and shooting like a really nice bull over the counter on public land is achievable. They've already taken themselves out of that being possible. And that comes with that just weak mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's sad that people are that weak. That they just have to go. They're so weak that they have to assume that it's not achievable unless you did X, Y, Z, or got this, or got a sponsor, or whatever.
Yeah. I'm listening to David Goggins' new book, Never Finished, right now. Mm-hmm. And he talks a lot about this. I mean, the book is basically about exactly what we're talking about, which is most people haven't, to use his own words, most people haven't tamed their inner bitch. Mm-hmm. And they're weak. And because of that, they have not faced their inner demons and become a little bit mentally tougher in multiple dimensions, they reflect that onto other people. And because they don't believe that they could do it, then you can't do it. Yeah. And even if you did it, they have to make themselves believe that there's some shortcut you use. There's some hack that you use that you're not telling us about because I can't do it. There's no way you could do it. I posted a picture or a video about a month and a half ago. So I shot a big Roosevelt in Oregon this year. Probably will be the biggest one I'll ever shoot in my life. Yeah. And super proud of it. I've waited my whole life to hold something like that. And I may never even see one like that again. But on the same day in Utah, my friend Tim Lesser, who's the product leader at Loophole, he shot a giant bull with a rifle. And anyways, I got a text, and I was like so stoked on my Roosevelt. It's like 330, which is a big Roosevelt. And I get a text from the Lessers, and this is Tim's bull, and it's like a 390 Rocky, just giant. And I was stoked for him. Anyways, long story short, I posted a video. We got together and we put those two bulls together, and my bull just looks average, right, next to a 390 Rocky. And I get it. The video is deceiving, but I posted it and I said my 330 Roosevelt up next to a 390 Rocky or something like that, and it went kind of viral. And next thing I know, it's in the hundreds of thousands of views on Instagram and all these things. And the frickin' trolls come out of the woodwork, bro. Like, there's no way that, I mean, everything you can imagine under the sun. You guys need to rescore those. There's no way that Roosevelt's no more than, one guy said that Roosevelt is my biggest bull's 200 inches, and that Roosevelt is not bigger than my biggest bull. No way.
Yeah.
And then, that Rocky's, there's no way it's over 330. That's not even a 300. Blah, 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 blah. But my main learning from that post, and by the way, to the trolls out there that said all that shit, they were officially scored, and what I said was actually conservative. Both of them actually were more than what I said. So my point being, I get why they were saying that. The video is deceiving. But the psychological experience that I had, experiment that I watched there was, people don't like seeing other people succeed because they've already told themselves, to your point, that they can't. And because of that, there's no way that you can, right?
Outdoor Class is the new source of premium outdoor education from trusted and knowledgeable experts. For hunters committed to improving their skills, Outdoor Class is the only subscription-based e-learning platform that provides unlimited access to video lessons from the world's most respected experts. Learn from industry leaders like Corey Jacobson, Randy Newberg, Remy Warren, and other experts across all the topics that affect you as a hunter. Make sure to follow Outdoor Class Official on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and take your game to the next level by going to outdoorclass.com. You can use code ALTITUDE at checkout for 20% off. That is ALTITUDE at checkout for 20% off at outdoorclass.com.
Yeah, it's sad, man. Like, these topics, a lot of these topics we're talking about really remind me of, I did like a self-development course. Are you big on like self-development? Sounds like you read books.
Oh yeah, man. I'm constantly trying to work on myself. I'm far from perfect, but I really over the last, I'm a little older than you. I turned 42 this weekend, and I wish I would have had my current mindset 15 years ago. But I'm really trying to make the last half of my life better than the first half, and I had a great first half. So I love self-development.
I did this self-development course, and I mean, the more you read about the mindset and manifesting and visualizing, you kind of can, or at least for myself, I can reflect back on when I was successful, when I had success. It all makes sense why. Like, I believed in it. I knew it was possible. I knew I could achieve it. I visualized it. And the weak-minded, man, you just want to like slap them upside their head and be like, you have potential, but you have trapped yourself in your own mind. And unless you do something about it, you're just going to be the guy who sits and complains and watches the rest of us succeed. I mean, that's what my mindset to anyone who's a hater of me is like, dude, I'm just getting started. If you're butthurt watching what I've done and accomplished, you're going to be really sad in the next 5 to 10 years, like really sad. So I just wish everyone can unlock their potential and take control of their emotions and their mindset and see that the conversation is different around the winners. That's one of my favorite quotes is sit with the winners. The conversation's different. And yeah, for anybody who's just got that negative mindset, I just wish they'd snap out of it and realize that, you know, they themselves probably have more potential than they think. And hating on other people or trying to bash other people is going to get you nowhere. That's what you learn through all these self-development things. And the more you read books and surround yourself with these people with these positive mindsets who are achieved, we're not talking about that. You know, like, we're not sitting there like on social media scrolling through and putting people down. Like, that's just not what like the winners do, I guess. I guess in some ways I'm classifying myself as a winner there, but I'm just trying to class myself as like, just treat people nice and unlock your mental limitations. And dude, literally you can go out and do great things and change your whole mindset if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, and it's certainly, if nothing else, it certainly won't help you to be negative. Like that's for sure. So if you've got a chance of succeeding at all, you should at least try positivity. I am over optimistic, and maybe you are too. And I think it's my greatest fault, but also my greatest strength. My wife is more of a realist, and she keeps me in check. Well, I'll be like, I want to conquer the world and do this thing, whatever. And she'll be like, yeah, okay, but I get it, but maybe you should scale it back just a little bit. But, you know, I look at people like you or several other people that I can think of just right off the top of my head. And I love that you're like, no, I haven't done shit, man. I'm just getting started. So if you don't like that, then, you know, pound sand. I wish the best for you. I really wish you would change your mindset because your life would be better, you know?
Yeah.
On the sort of the Salt Lake City, one of the things I've noticed about Salt Lake City is I've pretty much been to every major city in the country with the exception of a couple. Salt Lake City seems to breed pretty motivated hunters. There's a lot of motivated hunters in Salt Lake City. There's a lot of dudes that are in shape and just jacked up and like, you know, hitting the hills. It's got its own culture, man. Like when I come to Salt Lake City to the expo, it's totally different than any other event of the year. And it's always fascinating to me. And I don't know if it's the heavy religious element of Salt Lake or what it is, but it does seem like there's a sort of it tends to put out like a positive vibe, like healthy, like less drinking, like not as much of a party. And I'm over generalizing for sure. I'm sure there's like a dark side of Salt Lake, but what I'm saying is in the hunting space specifically, there's a lot of go-getters in the hunting and in the Salt Lake area. I think that's cool. I like seeing people being go-getters. I don't want to necessarily go hunt the Wasatch Front myself because I think it's good. There's plenty of dudes doing that. But I love seeing the positivity.
Yeah, you're totally right. I agree with you 100% that Salt Lake kind of breeds this different level of hunters. And I'm not LDS, but I think that does have a lot to do with the LDS community here that is, you know, work hard. I hope nobody takes this out of context or I get something wrong because, like I said, I'm not LDS, but they work hard. They want to provide for their families. They're taught to take care of their families and you know, find success. But what I've noticed is I've got to be able to go out of state is getting comments like that. Like, you Utah guys are next level, right? Like, you'll go down into the bottom of that canyon. You don't even care, you know, whether you're just, I don't know. Like, I've had my friends in other states say, you Utah guys are just hardcore. You'll go anywhere. You sleep out there. You'll scale cliffs. Like, you're just crazy, you know? But that really goes for everything in Utah. We have a very strong entrepreneur like mindset here in the Salt Lake Valley. And even for like digital creators, and this even goes, beyond the hunting space. I think it was like Salt Lake, Provo was kind of number 2 next to LA when it came to like YouTube creators and digital media creators. So it's got that entrepreneurial mindset. I think we breed people who are passionate about their lifestyle. If that's hunting, they're wearing hunting clothes. They've got all the gear. They go out all season. That's their lifestyle. Now, if you're BMX or if you're motocross or whatever you are, the Utah breeds this very hardcore, like whatever they attach to, like that's a part of their identity, and they live that lifestyle to the fullest.
Yeah, I've certainly seen it. I mean, like I said, every time I go down there, and that's interesting. You mentioned the entrepreneurial side, because that is true, man. Like the business people that I know from the Salt Lake area, they tend to be pretty talented and pretty hardworking, and they tend to be successful. And, and shout out to my Mormon friends. Like I have a lot of Mormon friends they're such great people, usually very hardworking. Usually you don't want to compete in the business world with them because they're really good at it. And that's a cool culture. We almost moved to Salt Lake at a point not long ago. Well, I guess it had been 5-6 years ago. We went and looked at houses there. Cool area, man. And the hunting in Utah, I wanted to talk to you about that. It takes a lot of heat because it's really hard to get a tag in 99% of Utah for normal people. But on the flip side, you could argue that they have some of the better trophy management in the country in terms of growing old animals, healthy herds, etc. What's your thoughts on that? Because you hunt multiple states. What do you think of your home state in terms of the way they manage their wildlife?
Well, I hear both sides of the argument. I guess the big one I think are going on in a lot of states is your trophy hunters who say, hey, we need older, bigger animals. I don't care. I'll wait 20 years. I just want to see the animals get older and mature. And then you have a lot of the general public who are just like, I just want an opportunity. Like I just want to go hunt a deer or an elk. Like doesn't need to be a 400-inch giant, right? So I think all these states, they can't please everybody. I think the big guiding and outfitters, they tend to lean towards the trophies. I think that really helps their pocketbooks, right? Like if they can book more clients and kill bigger animals, like they're going to maybe make a little more money. And then the average Joe's like, I just want a chance to hunt, So I think Utah right now, like they just came out with a new management plan for elk, which is going to increase opportunities, they say, and ultimately bring down the age class even on our trophy units. So, I mean, there's certain things I'd like to see change. I've seen our elk herds in their premium back in like 05, 06, 07. So we know that these mountain ranges are capable of capacity to carry the quantity elk and the quality that we had back then. So it's not that we don't have the ground to grow them. Now we just don't have the numbers, so the numbers are dwindling, and it seems like the states lean towards profit, tag sales, applications, and just more money. So how do you make everybody happy? I don't know. Like it's a struggle. I'm so glad I'm not taking the heat for all that. I'm not the fishing game, but I wish they would bring back at least a handful of our elk units to an older age class expectation. They just continue to chip away at it. So that's just we're just never gonna get the older trophies. I wish we had a few select areas that were like, these are strictly managed for trophies. These are for the people that are going to wait 15, 20, 25 years that want to chase true giants. Then we're going to have other opportunity areas that are kind of more your general season and stuff like that. But just like a lot of the states, it seemed like our numbers are down, our quality is down. And I know from reading some reports and blogs and whatnot, there's such an increase of interest in hunting since the whole COVID lockdowns. Like, I don't know if that was because people are leaning towards organic meat and they want to go hunt it themselves, or we were all cooped up for so long, so everybody was excited to get out and hunt. But clearly the states are seeing an increase in applications. So they take that, they must be taking that as like there's an increase of interest. And so if we can find a way to create more hunts, like add a season or add some tags or open up some units to general season opportunities, they just seem to be going that direction more so than the trophy way. So it is still very hard to...
It certainly seems like it.
Yeah.
It certainly seems
so
like it.
I don't know, man. I don't know the answer.
Did you do the Idaho draw here last week?
I got on
the Idaho
was a part
list.
Yep. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, it was dude, I got number 200. 201
wow.
actually.
What time? When did you log on? Like,
I should have bought. I logged on just when everybody else did. It's not like, apparently it's just totally random because my buddy who got on 5 minutes before me was like number 37,000 or something crazy. I don't know, like 17,000.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, we're in an interesting place, man, from a sort of wildlife management perspective. I mean, we're down to Colorado and Oregon being a couple of the last over-the-counter elk hunts that you can even, like true over-the-counter, like go buy it. But I believe we're within a couple of years of that not even being the case. So what do you do? I don't know the answers. It seems like there's a lot more hunters that we're all trying to accommodate, which, it wasn't that long ago when we all thought that was good to recruit hunters. But now everybody's like, whoa, don't recruit that many. But is that the right answer? Or is it that we're just now realizing that, when you recruit hunters, that means there's going to be more hunters? And maybe, I don't know. It's a complicated topic, but it is certainly a fact that its age class is going to go down. And opportunity is, I don't know if it's going to go up, but there's going to be more people doing the thing. And it's going to be harder to find those older mature, especially when you get into like mule deer. Mule deer are susceptible. I mean, when they're in the rut, even the big mule deer, they're not the sharpest pencil in the box. They're smart, but mule deer are susceptible to hard winters. Yeah, they're susceptible to hard winters. They're susceptible to longer range weapons. Like when you start, it's going to be really hard to find big mule deer in the next decade, other than in units that are heavily managed for that. When you look at Montana, where you can hunt mule deer for 6 weeks with a rifle, and 2 or 3 of those weeks are right in the middle of the rut, and you're in open badland country out east. Look, that's fun. I get it, but I think that's going to be a tough conversation to have five years from now.
Yeah,
there's a lot more people that want to do it. So I don't know where it's all going, but it's definitely getting more complicated.
For sure. I think one thing that is never a topic, and just something that I think is a thing, is we're all hunting more. So all of us who were hunters 10 years ago, and I think the majority of us probably got one deer tag in our home state, right? Like I went on one hunt. That was it. Maybe an elk hunt. Now I go on multiple, and I think the most of us, because it is so much easier. Remember back when we were growing up, to hunt out of state, you had to fill out paperwork, do mail, and a lot of these states would take your $1,000 up front, and then if you didn't draw, then they give it back. So we didn't have thousands of dollars. I didn't have thousands of dollars to try to apply. I didn't understand the application process. I didn't know their code language for units. Now we all have access to that, whether it's Go Hunt or any of these things that can teach us, where to hunt and how to apply. There's even application services. I can just give someone my credit card and my social security basically, and they can go put me in whatever states I want. Yep. So now that we have the knowledge and the ease, we're all hunting more. So myself included. I went from one deer tag a year to, now I get the chance to hunt 7 to 9 different tags and maybe 5, 6 different states. So we're all hunting more ourselves, and we're recruiting. You know what I mean? And I've seen that on social media. I've seen a lot of people that I follow, and they're hunting multiple states now. You know, we all want opportunity. We're all really trying to get out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. The barriers of entry. I remember when, you used to have to stick a check in the mail, fill out the paperwork, and send it off to Nevada, and you wouldn't even hear anything for months. You don't even know where your freaking money went. Like, and even just the knowledge of knowing how to do that was so complicated. You basically had to get a Hunt and Fool magazine, or you had to be smart enough to read regulations, which I'm still not. Like in terms of like interpreting all the different tag numbers and dates and all that stuff. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, and that's kind of I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he's like, all these things are ruining hunting. And I go, I understand what you're saying. I do. I hear you. But you could make that argument about just about any advancement we've made in the industry over the last 30 years. You know, does technical apparel ruin hunting? Does the compound bow ruins hunting? The long range rifle ruins hunting? You know,
social media
social media, all the things ruin hunting, right? But you know, is it really that simple? And even if it's partially true, because I personally think that humans have a unstoppable desire to innovate and make things easier for themselves. Yeah. And no matter what, like if you don't do it, or if I don't do it, or if that person over there doesn't do it, someone's going to do it. So like we're going to continue to innovate, and that may not always be for the better. And I hear that, and I agree with it. Look, I hunted with a I was heavily traditional bow only for most of my life. And I thought a lot of these things that I was seeing on the outside of that were bad for hunting, you know. But like, where is that line? You know, do I get to determine that? Do you get to determine that? Who gets to determine what's bad for hunting and what's not? That's pretty. That gets pretty dicey really fast. So I don't know what the answers are, but it certainly is. It's certainly going to be tougher to get tags. There's going to be less mature animals. For sure. And it's something we should be all cognizant of and figure out solutions to. But I don't think blaming innovation for it is necessarily the answer that's going to actually create meaningful change or management. It's just a way to bitch. And, you know, we all can do is be legal and ethical and promote the things that we believe in and move on with our day, because humans are going to keep innovating. Doesn't mean you got to go along with it, but in this case, it's made what we do easier. Not the actual, the actual activity has become easier too, but for sure access to the activity. Like almost everybody you know, I bet, is a multi-state hunter. Whereas 10 years ago, it was like, whoa, I would just love to go on a different state once in my life, you know?
Yeah. When I started hunting different states, that was like, it took a big investment at first to start applying, and you didn't know where to go. You didn't know what hunt code unit to put in on your application. So it was just, there's so many things, like you said, that have been changed and innovated to make things easier. And applying is easier, and finding information and Googling something, or watching a Randy Newberg video on how to apply out of state. Like, it's all accessible. And like you said, if Randy's not going to do it, someone else is going to do it. If Hush isn't going to show public land hunting, then someone else will. Like, it's pretty wild. I don't know the answers to how to manage it all and change it. I've heard a lot of states are thinking, kind of going back to maybe a true muzzle loader, or regulating on that type of stuff. And, that's a whole nother conversation, but I've heard Utah thinking about maybe pulling scopes off of muzzle loaders or high powered scopes, and maybe even New Mexico, I think, voted on that and passed that. So it's going to be a battle, and you have to draw the line somewhere. I keep saying, if we don't draw the line somewhere with technology and innovation, we're going to be shooting out from a drone. Like, where does it stop? Like, it has to stop somewhere. So
for sure, It's just tough to know where that is and who gets to determine it, right? Because
it's really
yeah, it's so subjective. Like I have friends that would say a self bow and a wood arrow is the only way to hunt. Every other way of hunting is wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then I have friends that'll say, no, I like shooting at an elk at 1,000 yards, and that's okay. I should be able to do that. Who's right and who's wrong? I mean, it's subjective. I tend to lean more on the let's keep technology in check. Like, let's make sure this stays hard, because you're right.
Yeah.
Like, what is the stop shooting an elk with a drone? So it's just maybe it's just being conscious of it and making sure that we're all being real and kind of keeping tabs on it. But like you said, I'm glad I'm not in the fish and game department, because those people have a really tough job and they don't get paid very much. Like, believe me, I was one of the people that was bitching about how bad the Idaho application process was. But then later that night, I kind of felt bad about it, because I'm like, they're probably doing their best. They're not making a ton of money. They're doing the best with the resources they have. And yeah, it could be improved, but it's not like they're Twitter or Facebook or Google with all these resources to make the best technological advancement and application process, right? So where does this all go, Eric? What are you up to next? How are you going to make this next part of your life amazing?
It's funny you ask that, because I really visualized my life to now, like my whole life. My whole life was getting here. So my whole life I wanted to make a living hunting. My whole life I wanted to build a brand that I thought could be on a sleeping bag or a gun or whatever. So we're there. I wanted to be able to, like I said, hunt for a living, and I'm there too. So that's kind of what got me into this self-development program I invested in, and because I didn't have a vision past this, and that's kind of when I started to feel not stuck, but just like, whoa, I had a vision of like what we could do and accomplish with Hush in 5, 6, 7 years, and we did it, but I didn't have much of a vision after that. So for me, I'll never get sick of like doing content. So I always want to capture and share. Like, I'm still going hard in the mountains. I still love just hunting and filming and sharing that. But I want to build like the entrepreneur side of it. And that has something to do with my desire to learn and grow and, get involved in acquisitions and deals and negotiations and really learn a little more about like big business. Because I don't think I really allowed my mind to go beyond kind of this stage right here, like just a successful company that supports us. So I want to grow in my entrepreneur career. I would like to, so that's going to take a lot of my energy and focus, is like how to build this brand, and really need to talk with my partners, like what our big vision with Hush is, because if you start to think and learn about business, there's the exit strategy. It's like, nobody really knows. Like, do you retire from a podcast? Like, well, nobody knows yet, because like it's new. Do you retire from YouTube? Like, nobody really knows, because like we're just doing YouTube now. So it's like this unpaved thing that I'm really excited to see where the future holds. But I think as long as we stay true to our message on Hush, which is to, give back to our communities, acquire new hunters, and bring attention to conservation, and we always stick to our why, I think Hush will continue to grow and thrive. And then personally, I want to learn more about business, which leads me to where I was going to go. I forgot, which is just ultimately having financial freedom and never having to stress like money again. And it's not about money. Like, I promise you, like if money was the thing, I wouldn't be doing hunting, right? I would have done real estate or some other stuff. But now that I've learned business, and you start to network with people who have found such success, you see that it's possible to be financially free and completely debt free. So I really want to work on paying this house off and being completely debt free, and then maybe getting a house in Hawaii, and really going like even bigger in my vision of what's possible and what's achievable. So that's kind of where I'm at. My next vision board, which is something I built this last year, has got the big picture of my next, chapter of
I
my
love
life.
that, man. I wish more people would do that. That was the number one most impactful thing that I ever did in my whole life, was when me and my wife took 10 minutes and wrote on one piece of paper, what do we want the next decade, the next 5 years, the next 3 years, the next 1 year of our life to look like, and going across all the spectrums from physical health to financial health to spiritual health to relationships, whatever you want, what buckets you want. And it's amazing how many people will sit and stew on the stupidest shit. They'll watch Netflix for 2 hours, but they won't take 10 minutes to write down hey honey, what do we want our retirement to look like, or our 40s to look like, or our 30s. Well, folks, it looks like we had a little bit of technical difficulty, and Eric got cut off. I don't know what happened, but great conversation with Eric Chesser. Hey guys, before you leave, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the full conversations. You can watch the conversations. Sometimes it can be pretty interesting, not just listen, but watch it. So it's the Altitude Show on YouTube. Subscribe, share it with a friend. We really appreciate it. Also, go out and support our sponsors. Peaks Equipment. If you're a backcountry hunter out west, you have certain things in the mountains that you just absolutely need. And a couple of those things are gaiters, trekking poles. You have to have a headlamp. Peaks Equipment has all those things. They're the best in the industry. PeaksEquipment.com. Use my code ALTITUDE for a discount. If you're looking to get into hunting, or even if you're an experienced hunter and you want to get better at it, you need to go to outdoorclass.com and learn from the likes of Corey Jacobson, Remy Warren, Randy Newberg, and many more, John Barklow, about all things hunting, and become a better hunter yourself. All of us can improve, but especially if you're a beginner and just diving into this, there's a lot to know. Go check that out. Use my code ALTITUDE for a discount. That's outdoorclass.com. All right, folks, have a great day. Thank you so much.